Yeah, I don't have a budget for my own facelift. So I decided that I could afford to do a little facelift on my sander. I've got some video here, a little bit of a time lapse that it's a little long, but thanks for taking a look at it if you want, and especially if somebody has some tools, maybe some older tools that you or someone you know might benefit from knowing some little steps to try, then maybe it could be helpful. I uh, kind of a makeshift setup today because now we're getting sleet. We got cold temperatured out of work today. We couldn't do any yard spraying with the temperature the way it was. So I just set things up here at home, and the angle's not the greatest. Apologies for that, but thanks for bearing with me. Also, I'm editing the voiceover and still learning how to do that, and appreciate your patience while I try to get better at that. The Porter Cable sander that I have has been probably one of the tools I've used the most because I didn't have a lot of other things set up and didn't have much call for other things until recently. So it may be the one that's seen the most service of pretty much all the power tools that I have, and I really messed it up. When I was sanding on the cornhole boards, I guess I was just pressing way too hard, maybe on it, trying to round off a corner, and basically melted the plastic, the hook and loop plastic. And so I thought, okay, well, I've ruined it. Turns out there was a way to not have to get a whole new one. So that's the video, and that's the dead end street for today. Glad I got to also show put on display the little sign that I got to start each day with a grateful heart. That's a goal that I have. I won't claim to be perfect at that, but I sure do try, and I feel very blessed and grateful that I for every day that I get to try and uh, do as much good and as much right as I can. That's the goal, and I appreciate the chance to share this with you, and hope that you'll feel, even if you couldn't care less about Sanders, I hope that you'll feel blessed and encouraged knowing that I appreciate very much you taking time to watch. I'm over the 50 mark on subscribers, and that's great. Thanks so much, and looking forward to seeing if we can hit that 100 mark. I've got an idea of something that I want to do when we get there. And if you know somebody that might enjoy anything about these videos, I'd sure be glad if you could share them. And look forward to having any comments and feedback that you might have. At some point, somebody's going to, I'm sure, be able to easily chime in and say, I cannot believe you did that so poorly. Or I cannot believe you made it so much harder than it had to be on one or another of the projects that I've done. And that'd be great to maybe find out some tips and tricks from some masters who could help me be more efficient and get better work done. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a great day. This may seem like a bit of a long video for such a little project, but it was very interesting for me to find out that this hook and loop facing pad on this sander could actually be replaced and I not have to buy a whole brand new unit. So maybe this could be helpful. I found that one of my sanders, the battery powered one, actually has a 4-bolt attachment set up, and this electrical Porter cable has a triangular 3-hole bolt in setup. So I had to make sure that I was getting the right replacement, and didn't know for positive, but it looked from the Amazon pictures, looked like it was probably going to be okay. So I got it in a few days ago, and now I've got some time that I could spend on it. I was trying to be real careful when I was taking the screws out because I am notorious for pulling it out and then it falls on the floor, gets lost, whatever. So trying to be real careful with them here. Next, it was time to try and be careful with the uh, replacement pad. Uh, the holes were right, but just enough off that I couldn't quite get more than one or two screws in at a time. And I really hesitated to try and force anything because it's easy to strip a screw out, and I'm good at doing that. But also I wanted it to be, good and solid, so I didn't want to make a crack the back of the pad, or make a hole so big that it would be loose and kind of flop around or not hold tight. Anyway, had to spend some time working on that. Now, it would have been good if I'd shown a closer picture. Really was fascinated. I guess I could have figured this out just by thinking about it, but it didn't occur to me that these orbitals are basically a small version of the Wankel motor that I had in an RX-7 years ago. The is very the mechanism for this sander looked like it was working very smoothly, and it was interesting to see how that operated there, kind of seeing the insides of it. I was really trying to work this to get it right in just the right place to get it on. We'll see here in a bit that I basically uh, had to kind of do a bit of a hack, a bit of a modification, but I I was really afraid that if I wasn't careful, I'd make a mess of this by either threading a screw or uh, messing up the attachment surface. Speaking of mess, please, if possible, pay no attention to the background. We got basically weathered out of work. It was too cold to go out spraying yards, and so I got to do this at home today rather than at the workshop. And you can see that the 0.5 camera setting, it not only puts everything a bit out of line, kind of fish eyes the thing, but that bookshelf on my right is is actually leaning very badly. That's a preview of another project. I found this little bookshelf somewhere, salvage, or picked it up cheap. I can't remember, and just started jamming stuff on it. And boy, is it! It's about to collapse on itself. So I got to put some backing on it. That's something I want to do here pretty soon. And then you can't really tell down on my left on the floor, to the right of the screen, hidden by a little bag is one, maybe two, yeah, two other little tools that I've picked up that I want to do videos on. More on that later. I kept working with this thing until I just gave up and decided, I'll be using a technical term here, that I had to waller out a little bit around these holes to get those screws through without risking cracking that surface. So I had a little rasp file here, a little round rasp, and just worked it a bit. I am really bad about thinking, okay, just a little bit, just a little bit. Oh, too much, went too far. So I was trying to be really careful and do the absolute minimum. And then finally was able to get one of these screws with, I thought at first it had a security type uh, facing on the bolt, but it was just a regular star bit. So I was able to get one started and feel comfortable and confident about that, and then got the other one in. And again, it's a plastic backing on that. I don't think it's carbon. So I wanted to get it snug, tight, but not press it so hard, force it down so hard that it cracked. So I'll have to be checking the sander the first couple times I use it to see if it's those bolts are staying tight. And adapted the old spare tire changing trick here of going a little bit on one, then working my way around, crossing it up so that it kind of hopefully gets a real even setting. Um, I, excuse me, was hopeful that this was going to work. The hook and loop did not look like it was going to be really tight, but that did get a good solid attachment to the sanding pad. So get to try it out here and blow a little sawdust in the room. Not my intention, but looked kind of cool. Uh, yeah, I'll clean that up later. Uh, Gave it a couple of tries and seemed like everything was solid. So